Hey everyone, welcome to Locally Grown. We are excited to talk about something that will lead your business and drive you for the entirety of what you're building and creating. We've talked about business planning and setting those things up, but we want to make core values a part of that and really diving deep into why you're doing what you're doing and where you even decided to do these things. So, Andrew, we're going to talk about core values today. What are your core values? Going deep.
I've got some, if you really want to know. But it's going to start this podcast off on a negative note.
So, what's the first thing you want to do when you're creating core values of business?
Yeah, I think I've been through this exercise a time or two with some businesses, and it's always an interesting kind of way to start. So I think depending on how many people you have, a good brainstorming session, some sticky notes, a whiteboard on qualities that you want your employees to have, or I don't know if qualities is the right word, but something that you want them to focus on, something you want that your customers would find important as well. You could create core values that your customers don't actually care about, and then it doesn't really matter. But I think we should take a step back and what are core values? Why should businesses have them, I guess, is a better...
Yeah, there's a quote I love. It's called, it's from Roy Disney, who's, the less famous Disney brother, but... Walt's brother. So he said, it's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. So I think it's a foundational piece that really it becomes a part of you. So it's going to lead your decisions with hiring, like you mentioned. It's going to lead your decisions that you make with your customers, decisions you make of what locations you put up. If you're have an actual brick and mortar shop, it's going to make decisions with the tech that you use. So it's really going to be all about who you are and who you want to work with, and establishing those things. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's a map or a guideline on where you want to be, how you want to interact with people, how you want your customers to feel, and how you want your employees to be treated.
There's a story of when we were starting up Cloud App 3-ish years ago, we did there were only a few of us, and so me, the CEO, the COO, and the head of sales, we got a cabin in Park City, Utah, and we spent the week there. We kind of had just been formed as a team. We weren't really people that had known each other forever, and so we wanted to get to know each other better and kind of talk through what we wanted this company to be. And that's a moment that I'll never forget. It's kind of being a part of that founding team and putting things on the whiteboard of what we liked about our previous experience, what we wanted this experience to be, and it was really just a cool experience. So I think part of it is psychological, really looking deep inside yourself, and if you have founders or people financing you or whatever it might be, what do you want? And this is never too late to do this, right? You could have a business you've had for 20 years, and maybe you've never done core values or at least written them down. You probably have them. So really doing some searching and understanding who you are and what you want.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great way to look at it.
So what are some core values is kind of like a pillar, and it feeds into a mission statement. What's a mission statement?
Great question. Mission statement is really giving an elevator pitch, one sentence, why your company exists in the world, I think is a great way to put it. What you do, how you do it, and why, I think is a structure that a lot of people would say. There's also, we can look at a ton of other companies and see kind of what they do too. Let me pull some up. Tesla to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Mission statement is just a succinct summary of what you do in the world. And sometimes they're very specific. And some of them are a lot more like broad, IKEA to create a better everyday life for the many people. I might disagree with that one because putting it together IKEA furniture does not make my everyday life better. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it kind of like it summarizes your core values a little bit. So like Adobe's was let's create experiences that matter, and they kind of had a little bit more expanded was changing the world through digital experiences. And their values were genuine, exceptional, innovative, involved, and then also like we wanted Adobe to be a hard place to get hired at. Like we wanted to make sure that we hired the best, and they fit checked every box. Yeah, so it comprises your values. It expands it a little bit, maybe adds some reach, and it's really can be aspirational too. It's not just what you are now, but maybe what you hope to be.
Totally. I have to confess, I lied. That was IKEA's vision statement. Okay. The internet misled me. I still stick by my opinion that it's a little bit.
They aspire to be that.
Yeah. So, exactly. Another great one is Google to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful.
I think that's exactly what they are.
Yeah. So this is kind of a fun, like if you're going to create a mission statement, you can Google and find a billion different articles listing out companies' mission statements, and you can kind of look through those for inspiration. You can look through those to critique them and be mean like me, but to kind of get the ball rolling and start thinking about you as a company. And for some of these companies like Google, right, is a far-reaching, affects everyone in the world type of a company. But for some, you might be more of just a local business and you're a electrician in somewhere really cool. I don't know.
Thunder Bay, Canada.
Okay, you are an electrician in Thunder Bay, Canada. Is that a real place?
there was a guy I worked with. We would run ads in Thunder Bay, Canada for some reason because it converted super well.
Okay.
And so he always wanted to move there.
So
it was such a great converting city.
There you go.
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay. You might be an electrician in Thunder Bay, and your mission statement might be something a little bit more specific of being the most respectful, best priced, and most reliable electrician in Thunder Bay, Canada. So, there's a wide range of ways that you can kind of handle a mission statement and your core values. They all kind of link together. And it's really like those founding documents about how you want your company to act.
So we talked about the background of it. Hopefully, there, like Andrew said, we've actually written a lot as well about core values and mission statements. So there's definitely lots of information there. So how do you get started kind of putting those together? I kind of mentioned, and Andrew mentioned too, like a brainstorm. What you want to do is there's actually exercises, like there's tests and other things that can help you through this too on the glorious internet. But write down like 20 maybe things that you really want to be, honest and reliable, accountable, like whatever it might be, action words. And then narrow that down to like 4, which is the hard part. But having a narrow focus, but encompassing what you want to be will really kind of hone things in. So who do you want to kind of involve in that process of putting those core values together?
Yeah, I think there's a range of people that would be good. I think both you and I have been in situations where it's like the leadership team or people kind of on the ground. I think that works well in most cases. But depending on your type of business, it might be bringing in a couple of your like long-standing employees and kind of getting a mix of people. I think in all the situations I've been in, been like higher level director type people. And it probably would have been beneficial to get some boots on the ground type people and how they feel about the company. And also, there's like so many variables, right? You might just be starting a company. It might just be you and your like spouse who could knock some out, or it might be bigger. So I think pull in people that you respect, who know your company, who also, when you're thinking about core values, if an employee comes to mind, like this person is the personification of what my company should be, and I want it to be known, have them involved, right? You might have an all-star like customer service person or something that should be involved there. I would warn away from having too many people. There's only so many opinions to get through, I think. And you don't want this process to take 18 months, right?
So maybe you can go broad with like a survey.
Yeah.
Create a Google form and send it to employees or customers even, and just say, hey, like, what do you think of when you think of our business? Like, comb through your reviews. Like, some of the best marketing I've ever come up with has been from customers. Like, they said something about a feature of a product that I was working on, or something about, a service that my company provided, and that became like a tagline for that. So comb through reviews, come up with a survey, and then maybe you have kind of like your core value, what's a good word for squad?
Ooh, core value squad.
Yeah. Like 5 to 6 people.
Yeah.
Maybe. In fact, you can come into a room and you've got all this information, and you have your survey results of like, give us one word of what you think of when you think of our business, and you put up all those on the board, and you guys come together with 4 to 5 of those.
Yeah. And you can either leave it simple and just have like a 2 or 3 word, I'm trying to think of a good one.
Reliable. Or 2 words.
Yeah, something like reliable is probably a little bit too vague. But it can be simple like that, or you can have like a sort of a key phrase with an explanation on exactly what it is too.
Yeah, good point.
There's a lot of different ways, and you use that like there's a lot of different ways to use core values, and I think that's an important part too. It can be like part of your hiring practices of like, these are our core values. Are these things that you think you like, do you also care about these? Are these things that you can like commit to as one of our employees? Are there any like that resonate with you? I worked at a startup for a while that would have these morning meetings every day, and we would go around and like pick people who emulated that core value that we had seen like the day before or that week, right? So like, shout out to Joe for being reliable, one of our core values. So there's lots of ways that you can incorporate it into your culture, into your hiring, you can put it on your website if you want. Like, there's a lot of different ways for it to help you.
Yeah. So you've done the brainstorming, you've come up with core values. We're touching on like implementing. I think the biggest thing, so you put it on your website, but really, like Andrew said, you got to kind of live it. Like, make sure that you're really focused on bringing it into your business. Like, a lot of the big tech companies, and honestly, like Amazon is pretty good to study about this. Like, they're like religious about their core values. They have their final interview is really deep on core values. I went through this in grad school, and they have people from all over the company, and they're actually like their only job is to interview people. They're at that point, because they're so big, that they have people that are trained on interviewing about X core value, which is insane. But interview, have Andrew, Andrew focuses on the reliable core value, and Joe focuses on the integrity core value, whatever it might be. And then you just have that person who's asking questions about that core value, and they don't have the interviewee doesn't have to know about that. Just create questions that are related to whatever it is. Recognizing employees, definitely. What's another thing you can do to make sure it like sticks?
Yeah, you could. Making sure that your employees know that they exist and what they are, and they're on board with them, I think, is important. And also just having them be applicable, right? I was just looking at Coca-Cola's, and theirs are all like really short but really cool. So like integrity, be real. That's their core value for that one, which I think is really cool. Accountability, if it is to be, it's up to me. So some of them are like cute and kitschy that people remember. But yeah, you could have just a printout of them that you give employees when they start. You can hang a sign in your office, find ways to like make them a part of your culture. Because I do think sometimes in these like brainstorming sessions, you come up with these core values of things and not everyone does this, but things you're trying to overcompensate for that you don't have. So like, oh, we're really bad at XYZ. We should make the opposite a core value to try and like fix it. And that doesn't usually work. So making sure that like they're applicable and all your employees are on board with them is the first way to make sure that they actually happen.
Absolutely. The other thing I think is first of all, if you don't have quarterly goals, you should, but you can make it a quarterly goal. And you can even focus on one core value each quarter if you have 4. So you can say, okay, Q1, we're going to focus on integrity. And that could be, having a hard time thinking of an example off the top of my head, but
as an aside, it's Monday morning, so we're still waking up.
Maybe it's something about like, we're kind of talking a little bit about local businesses, but if you have like an hourly employee and maybe you don't have people reporting their time cards very well, you could say we need 100% time card submission by end of day. Like our goal is 100%, and you're going to put in ways that people are going to achieve that. You're going to make a system that's easy. Maybe you have a mobile app that kind of supports it. You're going to give training. So you're going to like set them up for success, but maybe that helps you focus on integrity. So having that as a part of the goals for the company and for individuals, and then being consistent. Like this is like a 5-10 year commitment to really start to become a part of who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got core values. We touched on mission statement. Started to implement it with your company. Any kind of parting words on core values?
I think they're a really great and important tool for like company culture and employee morale. Even I would say be cognizant of if they like start to be weaponized or they become like a snarky part of the workplace. I think I've seen that before. Where you want them to encourage your employees and help build like a company that stands for something, not, people are worried that they're not living up to a core value.
That's a good point. Yeah, so like it shouldn't be, obviously there's some circumstances where it should be, but for the most part, it shouldn't be like a fireable offense.
Yeah.
If someone is, there should be steps that you put in place to correct the behavior versus making it like, oh, well, they weren't being reliable 100% of the time. Put in some training, put in some process that helps people succeed with your core values. And obviously, like, hire the right people, which we've talked about before. That takes time to learn who's the right person for you, but be willing to pass on people. It's awful. We kind of just went through a whole bunch of hiring for my team and with Andrew, and it's not super fun when you find someone. It takes forever to find someone. You've interviewed a whole bunch of people, and then they get to the final round, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if they're the right person. All the qualities are there, the background is there, something doesn't feel right. Be willing to pass on them and wait.
Yeah.
There's something I heard a lot, which is hire slow, fire fast. So like if they're an immediate, obviously not a good culture fit, like just get rid of them fast and move on.
Yeah.
Give the leniency to the people that have shown you the ability to be there and maybe just make some mistakes along the way. But yeah, hire slow, fire fast.
Agreed.
Cool. Well, thank you all talking about core values and mission statements. And we hope this is helpful to building your business and getting to that next level. Thanks again.
See you guys.